You want me to bring it up or you? Check. No, I'm with you on that too. And I don't know what their criteria is. But I think.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, December 21st, 2021. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Born and unborn.
Okay, minutes and reports received and filed? None. Commissioner Committee Liaison Reports, upcoming meetings.
Just Christmas parties. So it's a good meeting.
You got invited to Christmas parties?
Yeah, I gotta wear that green suit and say bomb, but yep.
I'm dressed a bit casually today because the Heartland Port Authority Board is going to do a tour of a couple potential south side sites in Cole County later today.
Good. I've got, tonight I've got a National Guard Department of Defense Zoom. Thursday's my sister's birthday, and then there's something on Saturday. I forget what it is, but anyway, that's all I've got. Commission comments. Eric Landwehr asked that I move him to the front because he has to go to the doctor. I think he's got an old war injury he picked up in somewhere. So Eric, where is Eric? He wanted to be moved to the front. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, so are you doing the subdivision street acceptance?
Yes, sir, and, yeah.
Okay. Well, did he leave already to the doctor?
He was just here.
Oh. Here he goes. Can I be first? And I figure, well, you know, for a big present, yeah. He doesn't look real well, but.
You was at the top, then you weren't even in here.
I thought you were
I moved you to the front.
for new business.
You asked. You just get it done, get out of here.
You gonna do that first, didn't you? Yeah, you weren't here.
No.
We got all day.
Okay, so we have two, this is the Public Works Department policy discussion, and I would like to talk about these two, present them, and then we'll bring them to you for approval in 2 weeks. Allow time for public comment if there is any. Two items, drive approach and pipe policy. This is an addition or an amendment to the policy that we adopted back in 2018. After using it for a couple of years, we realized that we needed to add some items. The maximum length of pipe for a driveway to be 60 feet or less, unless reviewed and approved by the county. Also added language when a property owner wants to extend an existing pipe, and then the allowable pipe material types. We didn't have these items in there and felt like we needed to add those. So this is just an addition to the existing policy, and again, I'll bring it back to you in 2 weeks for final approval. Do you have any questions about this? It's pretty straightforward.
No, you emailed it to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
The next one is a mailbox policy, and we were not aware or could find any policy that we had regarding mailboxes. It's two parts. One part is the mailbox size and construction standards, which will follow the guidelines of the United States Post Office and the local postmaster, which traditionally is a 4x4 wooden support or a 2-inch diameter standard steel or aluminum pipe with just a plain mailbox on top. We get all different variations of mailboxes installed, and they're all within county right-of-way. These are installed by the property owner at their use. The county doesn't have any interest in mailboxes, but people need to do that on right-of-way for the use of getting mail. So we are okay with the fact that they're on right-of-way. However, there's some standards that we prefer that they use. Not always will it happen, but just some guidelines if we get asked about it. So the guidelines would set forth just the standard requirements or guidelines by the USPS. The additional item that we want to add to this is regarding during snow operations, if a mailbox is damaged during that operation. We get a lot of requests to replace mailboxes during snow, okay? It happens all the time. It can take us several days to get these replaced. We find that in most situations, the mailboxes are in really poor condition and should have been replaced anyway by the owner. And since we don't really go out and police these, a lot of times these mailboxes will get hit either by a plow itself or just by snow being pushed off the road, and the owner then asked us to replace it. And it gets into a lot of cost, a lot of downtime for our crews going out to replace those. So we wanted to put forth some requirements on this as to when we will replace it and when we won't. And basically two categories. If a snowplow does come in contact with a mailbox, generally speaking, that's going to be our requirement to replace. There's some exceptions to that if it was in really, really poor condition or if it did not follow the United States Postal Service standards. However, in most cases, that is something that we're going to replace. Category 2 would be if snow being pushed off the road happens to come in contact with a mailbox. We don't feel that we should replace that if that mailbox is truly in poor condition, which generally speaking, a mailbox that is in decent condition should not be damaged during those operations if snow just being pushed off the road hits a mailbox. So this policy just sets forth the requirements on when we will not replace a mailbox due to winter operations. It also sets forth if there is a mailbox claim for repair, the owner needs to do it within 5 business days. In some cases, we've gotten calls several weeks after the snow, and by that time, it's hard to say if our operation actually caused the damage or if it was something else. So it needs to be within 5 business days of the damage happening, in which we can go out and inspect and determine if that's something we need to replace. So just wanted to present these to you, answer any questions that you might have right now, get them out there for people to review and comment out in the public if they have any comments, and then we'll bring it back to you in 2 weeks, assuming we don't get a whole lot of feedback on it. We'll bring it back to you for approval.
So how many mailboxes do we replace? Because that, I mean, I hadn't been here even 2 months when I started getting phone calls, you know, of our plows. It's mainly the snow, but I've seen it happen. We were going up St. Louis Road, and I watched the city snow plow, and the way it throws those big clumps out, it just took out 3 mailboxes. And so
In cases where the snow is really, really heavy, our drivers need to, pay attention to that and not drive so fast through there. And so, we work with them on that. If it's really, really heavy and hits the mailbox, the policy does allow us to make it on a case-by-case determination
Okay.
if we need to replace that. In cases like that, we should probably replace it. But if the mailbox is hanging by on a string,
Yeah.
it just so happens that we push some snow off and it hits it and damages it, situations like that, we don't feel that we should have to replace.
Eric, lower on the page 1 of 6, it says county reserves the right, blah, 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 to follow the above requirements. And then above that, it says Federal Highway Administration recommends. And it recommends you don't have a brick, you don't have a plow, some kind of farm implement sitting there, brick or concrete. So is that a recommend above and a require below, or should the recommend be a require?
Probably should change requirements down below to recommendations.
Well, I thought about going the other direction. I mean, if somebody, and you see some quite exotic mailbox setups, brick, concrete, and then if we take one of those down with a snow plow, or do we have to put back get a brick mason out there?
Well, actually, the policy does state that we will only put back a wood post with metal box.
Okay.
If somebody has something else, they're responsible for putting that up on their own. Now, if it is our responsibility to replace, we'll pay them what we would normally spend to do that, and then they can do whatever. So they don't actually, the recommendation, this is language that comes straight out of the Postal Service.
Right.
As far as a recommendation, they don't have requirements, and I don't know that we want to say it's gotta be exactly this, because you get so many subdivisions that have their own special mailbox.
Okay, yeah, you've answered my question there, is that
Okay.
we're not going to rebuild an antique farm plow mailbox setup.
Because it does not follow the guidelines
Got
of
it.
the USPS, yes. And to further onto that, we do sometimes, if we see a mailbox that appears to be a safety hazard, we will ask that the people take it down. So that has happened in the past.
Yeah, I went and looked at that one on Shot Road, or Scott Station. Mailbox stuck so far out in the street, I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
you know.
So this is just kind of setting forth a policy that we've never had, and it gives us a little leeway to kind of decide when or and when not we should replace a mailbox during the snow removal operations, because it is a significant thing that we have to do and go back afterwards and do this work, and it ties us up for several days.
But it makes a citizen happy, so.
It does, but on the flip side, you know, we've seen a lot that aren't taken care of properly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't think that should be our responsibility to do that for them.
Okay,
Anyway, we'll
okay.
get some feedback on it if we do, and then we'll bring it back to you in a couple of weeks for,
Okay.
thank you.
And do you have another?
Subdivision
Street
street
ex-
acceptance.
yes.
Matt and I worked on that together. I'll let Matt start on that.
So I've handed you all the list of the subdivision streets. A few of these have been accepted previously, and they would be a final acceptance. And the majority of these are for the interim, to where we would accept it for a year and do snow removal. After a year, we'll go back out and do a final inspection on it to take it into the system.
This is our standard end-of-year subdivision acceptance. The ones that are shown on there to accept, this would be a full acceptance into our system, and these are the ones that I had worked on prior to Matt coming. This goes back into last year. And then all the interim ones, these are the new ones that were completed this year, which is pretty substantial compared to what we've had in the past. We've had a lot of development in the county. So again, as Matt said, these would be just snowplow only. And then we'll go back at the end of the one-year period and do a final inspection to make sure that everything is in line with our standards. And if it is, we'll do a final acceptance. If not, we'll ask the developer or require that they make the corrections before we'll take it in.
Okay. Anything else?
Need a motion on that?
Or-
You need a motion?
Yes, you'll need
Okay.
a motion to sign the court orders to accept subdivisions by name on interim.
We gotta do them each separate, or can we do them as presented on your subdivision acceptance sheet?
I think you can just do it as presented, but
Okay.
there are separate court orders for each.
Okay, now I'll make a motion, we sign the court orders that are listed on the 2021 subdivision acceptance sheet for the final and interim acceptance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Go to the doctor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now we'll go back to number 6, bids and contracts. Approval and signing of sole source Wheelan Outdoor Warning Sirens. Since Bill's here.
Today I'm just needing.
That was always a bill thing, though.
Today I'm just needing approval and signature on the sole source form with Wheelan outdoor warning sirens. It includes a replacement siren and then replacement batteries. It's already ran in the paper. The total was $55,378.
I want to change it to tornado warning sirens.
Oh, I agree that that last one was a little bit,
Well, the last two of them.
No, the
People
first-
confused. Well, the last one was here in Jeff, I think, and the other one was in Wardsville. Everybody's confused about it in Taos. Why is it talking to us? Well, the winds are blowing 100 miles an hour. Why don't you go outside and see if you can hear it? It makes a lot of sense. So, all right, I'm done with my little tantrum.
okay.
Well, for now.
I'll offer a motion to sign the approve and sign sole source Wheelan outdoor warning sirens for $55,378.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval and signing of sole source Agilent Technologies.
This is a sole source. It's for the grant that emergency management applied for regarding the fire and hazmat equipment. It was the amount of $69,796, and today I'm just needing signature on the form.
Make a motion to approve the sole source request form for Agilent Technologies for $69,796.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Signing of amendment with Juniors Pro Clean.
This amendment is to extend the contract with Juniors Pro Clean for the duct work on the third floor. The original contract was to expire December 31st, and since his equipment broke, we had to extend that out. It's being rescheduled to January 8th.
Is that gonna give them long enough?
I haven't, the amendment's till January 31st.
Okay, thought you said January 8th.
That's when he's doing it.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Make a motion to sign the amendment with Juniors Pro Clean until January 31st, 2022.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contract renewal with Health Department Nurse Practitioner.
Good morning. This is
Morning.
just our annual renewal with Heather Hines, who comes in and does our well women exams every other Wednesday at the health department. There's no increase to the contract for this year.
You got the contract.
This year.
Whoever's closer, whatever you want to do. Make a motion to sign the renewal contract with Health Department Independent Nurse Practitioner.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Signing of amendment with By Incorporated Pretrial.
This amendment is to extend the contract for electronic monitoring services that pretrial uses with By Incorporated. They're extending the contract until June 30th, 2022. So today I'm just needing approval and signature on the amendment.
It's been 6 months, or is it started in June?
My understanding of it is this is a bridge contract to a new contract that we will sign at some point. I'm not sure if the company has changed, but they talked about a Omni in an email that we got initially. So I think they're just trying to make sure the contract does not expire prior to them getting us a new contract.
Okay, it just seemed weird going till June, so.
I,
Okay, I'm good.
Mhm.
Make a motion to sign the amendment with By Incorporated pre-trial through June 30th, 2022.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Cheaper buy them an iPhone. It knows where you're at all the time, what you're thinking, what you're doing.
that's the next step.
Okay.
Staple it to them.
Do we have any unfinished business? Okay, new business, accounts payable review.
I'd ask for approval of accounts payable pending review.
Motion to approve accounts payable pending review.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Signing of contract order number 1 for Business 50 West improvements.
I just request that if we can move the ambulance station up further so we can respect
Oh.
the time of the other individuals.
Got it.
Okay,
Doing it in front of everybody so you can't say no. Well played.
Thank you. I learned from the best.
Got him with it.
whoa, that's a good one.
Everybody picks on the fact here, it ain't right.
Well, Eric already left, so that was the other one, the other Eric, so.
That's a good
Okay,
one.
so the change order for,
Yes,
So this change order for Business 50 West improvements, 18-inch rock base was, as specified in the plans, was used to stabilize subgrade in certain locations. Subgrade compaction and type 5 aggregate base were specified in locations not requiring rock base. Some of these locations were changed due to unsuitable material in the subgrade. The Route T intersection, additional coal milling, asphalt wedging were needed to achieve the grades of slopes. And during the design of retaining wall 1, the contractor needed additional geotech work to be performed. It was found that the retaining wall would need to be larger than originally specified in the plans. Overall, this change order is an increase in the cost of construction by $276,013.14.
That would kill the message.
we run into that geotechnical stuff all the time. That's just a big one though. So, okay, good.
It is what it is. At the end of the day, this is going to have a price tag of approximately, do we know?
Overall,
Yes.
we're right around the 3.5 million mark.
Okay, so
So,
this
it-
represents like a 7 or 8% increase or something like
Correct.
that.
Along with that, once we get closer to the end of the project, I will have some underruns, specifically the subgrade compaction and the type 5 aggregate base. We overran the rock base, but we'll underrun some of the other stuff associated with it, so.
Okay.
This is just to help our accounting side of things until we do get it closed out.
All right. The commissioner from Geotech, what do you say here? You
Yeah,
good?
it's
Okay.
unfortunate.
I have a motion to sign the change order number 1 for Business 50 West Improvements, project number 2017-301-1 for $276,013.14.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Judy, you're gonna have to wait, because I have to move Eric up. Presentation of EMS Station 2 preliminary engineering report.
Good morning. I have with me Carrie Gamfer and Lincoln Brown. Carrie represents Architects Alliance and Lincoln represents Midmo Planning. So you all should have found a copy of this on your desks early last week. This is the preliminary engineering report prepared by Mr. Gamfer analyzing the possible project to build in the ambulance station at the corner of McCarty and
Adams.
Adams Street. Thank you. Still learning my city geography. I will save a lot of the subsections here that are required by CDBG and just read the final recommendation here. The proposed site is an ideal location for a new Cole County Emergency Medical Services facility, central location within Jefferson City, adjacent to primary road routes to all rural county areas, convenient collaborations with other community emergency services, the police, sheriff, state capitol, university, schools, and state, county, federal judicial systems. Although currently underutilized, the site is ideal for this project. And then the piece that I think we were all fairly interested in is the estimated cost of construction. So the main level cost, fixed cost per building, $973,000. The upper level for 5,560 square feet would be $1,556,400. With contingencies, total cost of the project, $2,815,280 estimation. So I've invited these two gentlemen here to answer any questions you may have. I think we can start with Mr. Gamper on the report and scope. If you had any questions on that.
No, I've looked at all the designs and everything, and I think I want us to keep moving ahead. So, you know, it's there's only so much money we can apply for, but I think we need to keep moving ahead.
My comments exactly. Appreciate the speed at which this occurred. This report allow us to move forward and meet deadlines, or at least get in line ahead of someone else that might be wanting the same money.
Absolutely, it's been fantastic work by Architects Alliance. You know, when I first pitched this, I said the engineering report and some of these drawings, we're looking for them in weeks, not months, and I think he graciously accepted, but you know, I know that this was not an easy lift for their team, so thank you for all your hard work on that.
Yes.
Any questions on the engineering report itself? Otherwise, I'll kind of turn it over to Lincoln here to talk about where we stand with CDBG and the grant process and so on.
Okay, again, my name is Lincoln Brown with Mid-Missouri Regional Planning Commission. We've been working with Eric on getting this process moving and gathering the documents necessary to meet CDBG's requirements. I think both the city and county basically have to submit packets of roughly the same materials, financial background, set of narratives Eric and I are going to have to work on here a little bit to kind of flesh out. Some of this is answered in the PER, but some of them we'll have to talk through specifically on how we're addressing the needs of residents in the area surrounding the EMS facility and exactly why, and a little bit how it improves response times, all of those things. There's kind of more detail that really tells the story. That's something left to do on the application. But one of the things that I think has come up a little bit is the intergovernmental agreement, I think, still has to be worked out. So I think there's some discussion back and forth on who has to have control of the funds and the documentation for that. CDBG, so they have very specific rules on documentation and the financial systems necessary, but they do leave it kind of up to the participants to figure out their own accounting procedures. They allow for both a reimbursement process for funds spent on the program, or requests from CDBG, they pay you and then you pay contractors. I think what's been established and talked to is that you guys do want to operate through reimbursement, but I think there's kind of a sticking point on who's going to be paying, who's going to get the funds to reimburse. And there is requirements by whoever the responsible entity is on this, and there are two technically in this, that they both have to maintain adequate records to describe and explain the flow of funds through the project, as well as all the documentation, the cash ledger, all of that stuff. But there isn't explicit rules that state exactly how that relationship has to be defined. So you guys, I think that's kind of where we are right now, is establishing in here exactly how those project funds are to flow. I think something that's in here is having money set aside up front. And as far as my knowledge is for CDBG financial reporting, having funds set aside up front isn't a requirement of CDBG. So that'll be something you guys will have to work out internally.
Do you want to give a little update on timeline and what your preference would be?
As soon as possible. Again, the county has gotten me a lot of the financial background, the budget, last year's budget, current financial reports. We're working on narratives. I've got a list of questions for you for that. We need letters of support from the state, your local state representative and senator. I've got kind of a draft put together requesting that letter of support ready to go, but I don't know if that needs to come from the city or the county or a joint letter requesting that. And again, I've reached out to Rachel on kind of how you guys want to handle that. So that's left to do. But as far as timeline, we should be able, if we get everything put together, we can get it done in about 2 weeks. But it's contingent on a lot of people providing information. So there are a lot of moving parts here still left to go.
I would like to see the city be able to address this at their first council meeting in January, the first Monday of January. So that's within 2 weeks, I guess. So maybe not, but that would be very helpful if they could get that at that time.
Yeah, if you could do the IGA and then also have a resolution ready to go that approves signing the grant, because the grant request. You need resolutions from both the county and the city where you basically say, yes, we are submitting this application for X amount of dollars. We'll need that as part of the application. That's kind of your formal commitment to the process. So if we can probably do those both at the same time. The other piece that should probably be done within the same period of time is the needs assessment hearing. That is also a piece that has to be done as part of the grant application. And that's, again, we just got one done in Fulton. Those take about a half an hour to go through. But if there's multiple parties, it may take a little bit longer to get done. But it needs to be done as an open public hearing.
I think the recommendation would be is that we need to, the IGA is the piece that is kind of the dam in the river at this point. So continue to work through that piece, and once we get that in place,
we can do the public hearing beforehand. Yeah.
So I'll coordinate that with you gentlemen offline, so we can get that on the agenda and ready for the public hearing, and we'll continue to work on finer points of the IGA.
Yeah, this is our number one call area. So, I mean, to me, yeah, it's a no-brainer that we would build a station here.
So our dream is to have a $2.8 million station funded $2 million with a CDBG.
Yep.
And the balance funded by county EMS funds,
Yeah.
ASAP.
Yes. That would be the request.
Senate letters of support, would you like them to from Congressman Luke Tamar and our 2 United States senators, or does that help at all?
It's not required as far
Okay.
as the application, just your local representatives.
Okay, we can do that. I'll get with, see if the city and county want to do them jointly or if they want us to do them,
Yeah,
but.
it's just a basic description, dollar amount you're asking for, dollar amount of the
Yeah.
project is kind of what's in those letters.
Yeah,
Good.
okay.
Any other questions for us?
So we still have money in the grant that,
There is, but it's running out.
yeah, I know, that's,
They are, so I did find out about a week and a half ago, they are applying, they've received a lot of money for infrastructure, a lot of grant requests for infrastructure projects and community facility projects. They've had very few for economic development and workforce development. So they've applied internally, and this is gonna have to go through their HUD process, but they've applied internally to move funds from those particular allocations into the public facilities infrastructure project to bulk it up a little bit, because that's what they're receiving almost all their grant applications for.
So there is potential that the pot could grow a little bit, but I don't think that.
Yeah, we were down to less than $8 million in that pot last time.
yeah, that's why I'm,
I don't think we want to
No.
count on that.
No.
So
yeah,
That's a months-long process, too.
yeah.
So,
Lincoln, thank you.
yeah.
Carrie, thank you. Anything else?
no, I think that's it.
Well, thank you, guys. Keep it rolling.
Yeah,
Let
let's,
us know what you need.
okay.
Make sure you get that template for the letter.
Yes,
from
I
them.
will. Lincoln, well, can you
Yeah,
send me
I
a
can send that to you.
copy of that
Because we
letter?
can-
And I just soon get them out today if I could.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, I think let's
I
just
don't-
run with that, and we
I
don't have
don't-
to wait for the city to do
Yeah.
it. We can do that.
Okay. Okay, I gotta figure out where we are now. Well, we did, let's see, we did the public works, recorder's office to discuss flooring quote.
So we had Scruggs come by and provide us with a quote to redo Judy's back area where the public kind of sits and does their files. They gave us a quote for $8,870.24 for the vinyl plank, not for carpet squares. They also won't move furniture, but I think maintenance has talked about doing it, or will do it, because there's not a whole lot back there. Yeah, I think we can get it. So if they wanted to discuss it and see if you wanted to move forward, or what we were wanting to do.
Do we have that in our capital for this year then? Is that what we're talking about? We're talking about doing it at the same time as upstairs, but
Yeah, if we can do the two together, I don't know if it's gonna
I
save
don't
us
think
any.
we're gonna be able to do.
I don't think
well,
it's save
We'll
us-
probably be able to do the recorders before they can do the upstairs, because we got
Yeah,
painting to do up there and a few things.
we got all
so.
kinds of money in capital, so.
So she
Will
had
do.
mentioned to me when, I think there was gonna be somebody out on medical leave, and she had mentioned to me if we could order ours in January, we can get it going right away, but I didn't know the timeline for the prosecutor's office.
Yeah. I'm fine with it.
Me too.
Okay.
I do have the quote here if you guys want to see.
Okay.
Just need to approve the purchase. Okay. Make a motion to approve the flooring purchase from Scruggs Lumber for the recorder's office.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Signing of surplus title. Is this gonna be my last one for the year?
Well,
Oh, you jinxed yourself.
Yeah, nobody called me. This was a total vehicle at the juvenile department, and so, as you can see, it's a very old vehicle. After deductible, you're only getting about $1,500. So they will be coming to you with a plan, Toby will, as to replacing this vehicle. So I just need to sign the surplus title so I can give it back to insurance.
Okay, I'll just make a motion to sign the surplus title.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we did street subdivisions, we did public works. Discussion of ARPA funding and advisory committee.
I'm gonna turn it over to Sheila. You got-
No,
Or you want the advisory?
Yeah.
Oh,
You want the advisory committee? Is that what's up first? Yes.
we can do,
I sent you guys back that list, and it's kind of hard to, you guys were in different places on some people, so I sent you a list of who all applied online and/or who gave me their, one of you guys gave me their names of the different people. There were 15, I believe in all, so however big you want the committee to be and how you want to tailor it down as to who you want on the committee, other than ranking them, because ranking them. can't
I
do
would
it
like
that
to
way.
see us with really 7, 9 at the most. I-
How about this? Well, let's decide on the size. I agree that 7 is a good number.
Okay.
We had already pretty much decided that. so
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna
So-
argue it anymore today.
Yeah.
What if we did this? What if we drew straws and one of us goes first, second, third, and then we go in reverse order, back and forth. Your first pick, my first pick, Jeff's first pick. And we go back through again, and then Jeff is first the next time, and we revert. We just fill it up by, it's almost like a NFL draft, although they keep going in the same order, I guess. But we're the team owners here, and we get to draft our players.
Well, I
How's that?
like that analogy. Yeah.
Well, no, we've been elected team owners. We don't really own the team, but
Pick two, and then figure out.
I think Harry gets to pick 3, I get to pick 3, and Sam gets to 1. No, I mean, I don't really care how we do it, but I mean,
No,
I
I-
haven't looked over the list to say who. We can take that, we each ranked them, so we can
Yeah,
take
we
the
did.
top 7. If there's somebody that just wants to veto one, you can do it that way if you want to. I saw like the top 7, I was fine with the top 7. I don't know if there's anybody that missed out on it that.
I was good
I'm
with
not
that too.
worried about
Although I noticed that Sam's number 1 was my number 15,
Yeah.
and my number 1 was his number
That's why I
15.
Yeah.
had to quit. Try to rank it.
Yeah, we can,
I think so.
Okay, so we each get one veto.
Oh,
No, I wasn't going to veto his number one if he wasn't going to veto my number one, but
no,
Um,
I'm fine, we just
okay.
need to.
I mean, either which way is good with
well,
me,
by
so.
the end of the day, we'll decide which way, or can we just leave it at that?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, when you want your first meeting to be, I can email these people. And send this.
We'll advise
Okay.
them that, and then see that they're still interested. If we've got to invite them, get a mutually agreeable date, let them select their own chair,
Yep.
whatever, and go take it from there.
Just to, they have to comply with the sunshine laws, open meetings.
Okay.
So their meetings are gonna have to be posted at least 24 hours in advance with the location and the agenda.
And if there's 7 of them and 4 of them play cards regularly on a Thursday night, that's a problem, right? With each other.
Discuss.
Huh?
Depends on what they talk about.
Well, okay, right.
They might be watching football, Coach.
Yeah, okay,
Okay, well, you just let me know.
all right.
Just want to keep
Okay,
it rolling.
okay.
So, I think the next thing on the agenda was the.
Premium pay.
Mhm.
I said it right that time.
Good morning.
Been stuck with the other one.
Last week, I emailed each of you a draft of the premium pay policy. It was initiated using the bones of the policy furnished us by DKD. And then several of us worked on it, trying to expound on it to cover every contingency that we thought would be encountered in the process. Send it to Jill for approval and then send it to you all for approval. In that policy, there are a couple items that are highlighted that need a decision from you all before we could actually publish and implement the policy. They were highlighted in yellow. So we need some decisions on that. And once we get the policy approved, I'm working on the election and decision form for the employee, basically to request premium pay consideration, supervisor to provide documentation and sign off on it, and then a committee to approve or deny it. So the policy approval is the first step.
Okay.
Is what you're speaking of now, Sheila, is that in a recent email?
Yes, and it was marked draft.
What's the date on that email, do you know?
The 14th, I sent it to you last Tuesday, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday. It's the one with yellow highlight on the first page when you open the document. It is still in draft form. I can get copies to each of you if you need to review it again. I think there were only 4 sticking points possibly that needed to be considered. The biweekly amount, the total expenditure for the premium pay program, and whether part-time were going to be included or excluded.
So you gotta look at the,
Did you find yours, Jeff?
yeah. You gotta look at the actual policy and then also look at the premium pay election and determination form, because they kind of, yeah, coincide with each other. I had a couple of questions too, and then once you go through the determination form, it kind of clears it up, and we can always change stuff if we need to. And I think there are a couple different, there was gonna be a committee, so if there were questions, what was that called again, Sheila?
It's a premium pay committee. It includes
Okay.
HR finance, the auditor, Jill legal, and then one commissioner.
You and I sat down and did, I won't call it a cleanup, but just, that was late last week, I think?
Friday.
Friday, okay. So, and I was good with how
I
that,
implemented the changes you requested.
okay.
And Jeff had no questions. Sam, I didn't get any back from you, so I thought it was
No,
pretty clear.
yeah, I think, yeah.
Kristen Luston
Yeah, I was impressed.
It was well done.
Yeah.
Yep.
With respect, I don't know, do we get into the weeds now on this or not?
I think you have to answer the questions as far as amount and who's eligible before highlighting.
Okay, which I can't find, but part-time.
I just emailed it to you.
Oh, you did? Okay. With respect to part-time, I don't see how it can work for part-time because we're talking about a dollar amount for a 2-week period. And if we adopted a dollar amount of like, for instance, $200 or whatever, that would dwarf that employee's regular pay. It wouldn't, I mean, what if they only work 8 hours in a 2-week period and they get another $200 with it? It just doesn't compute to me.
Well, it would make it very burdensome on trying to figure out what amount would be equitable based on the full-time versus part-time, because we have some part-time that only work a couple hours, some that would work a full day within the week or more, depending on need. Dividing it into part-time further from the full-time definition would just, it would be
Yeah.
crazy difficult to get done in a short period.
I'm trying to work up a pro rate.
And payroll.
Prorating, I think, would be it'd be,
Well, the other question to me is, it's all about exposure.
Yes.
So if you show up for 1 day a week, I mean, it's just like people who work from home are not eligible.
Correct.
And the thinking behind that is that they're not being exposed at work.
Correct.
So if you show up 1 day a week, it's the same day as working at home 4 days a week.
yeah.
So, I mean, I think that argues against eligibility.
And that was the basis for our argument, because the premium pay program was truly intended, my understanding was to enhance the pay of those that have stuck it out and continue to be exposed and work in this environment and have exposure that is work-related, not church-related.
Got to put up with John.
or whatever.
But if you have somebody that's part-time and they feel like they've stuck it out with us too to help us stay open, they can apply.
They can
And
appeal
that's
to
where
that,
your
yeah.
committee would come in to look at it and may even have to come down to us three ultimately making that decision. Because I think there may be some that would fall under that are permanent part-timers and that really have stuck it out.
So, and I know Eric's in the same boat as I am. I have part-time people that come in on a regular basis. And it's not, I mean, they're being exposed the same as anybody else working. I don't think it's fair to, I think there should be an equitable way to figure this out. I don't think it's gonna be, even if it's, and I have no idea what you're setting this on, if it's $1, even if it's $1 an hour. If they only work 8 hours, but it's crucial 8 hours. And yeah, it's only $8, but we're trying.
I feel like, in my understanding of what's been proposed, is that there would be 2 levels of exposure. And so somebody with direct exposure and then, somebody who's at a lower level of exposure. If we're going to go down that road, I would ask for a 3rd level for the part-timers. I could have a part-time person who comes in, and only works 1 shift in a month, but in that 1 shift, they interacted with 3 people with confirmed COVID-19. So how do we, for that premium piece, my part-time people have the potential to be exposed every time they come.
Absolutely.
If we can work up some kind of prorate rating to,
I got part-time people down in the jail, working. I got part-time people working the road. I have part-time people working civil.
Well, we got part-time people working downstairs collecting money right now.
Absolutely.
We got elections coming up.
Yep.
I think that one gets a little bit down in the weeds, but I think we should be able to work something out. I don't know exactly how that's gonna look. I'd like to go ahead and move forward with this to start with, and then let's try to address something with part-time, and just not to hold this up.
well, can we check with BKD again? Because I'm sure,
Well, maybe this will work. We have 2 levels here. A 200, Group 1A is $200 per 2-week pay period premium. Group 2A is $100 per 2-week pay period. Okay, so the $100 is equivalent $100 divided by 80 hours. that's at X dollars per hour, right? And for $200, it's twice that. What if we found a part-timer and they're either a 1A part-timer or a 2A part-timer? We've got the dollar per hour amount. That's what they get paid based upon the hours worked, rounded to the nearest dollar. Let's don't mess around with pennies and nickels and dimes because it just makes it easier. Round it up or round it down to the nearest dollar amount, and that goes on their check or their deposit. They pay taxes on it, so on and so forth. And we've got an overall limit in here of $1.5 million. Correct?
That's what's proposed.
Out of our CARES money, I'm sorry, out of our relief money, ARPA money, we're not going to exceed that amount.
Even at the proposed amount, including part-time, no, I can't anticipate that you would.
Well, no, we're going to limit ourselves. If we were to max at this point, if we adopt this and then we hit, our payroll
runs
folks
out,
said
it runs out.
it runs
Yeah.
out,
So,
full stop. And then we'd have to change our own rules to,
so you're in like a per hour basis would be the 3A, level 3A. So it's $1.25 at the 100 hours or $100 for
yes.
80 hours, $2.50. So
I want this to be as simple as possible for the
Yeah.
payroll folks that are going to be agonizing, do I round up the pennies to the next penny or
well,
down?
I mean,
And-
if we have our objectives out there and it's all written out. I mean, I thought this did a good job.
Yeah.
Laying it out, except for the part-time was gonna be a question.
Okay,
And-
I'll relent and go back to the part-time and on a per hour basis at that point, basically, as computed on the 80 hour for 200, 100, whatever.
And I don't mean to be difficult on this, but I can't survive without my part-timers.
Yeah,
Okay, they're in.
no, and Eric
We'll put
can't
him in.
either,
Yep.
so.
I would support that, so, 1A, you're a full-time employee, you get $200 per paycheck. At that same level, if you're a part-timer, you get $2 an hour for hours worked. At the 1B, you get $100 for full-time and $1 per hour for part-time.
I think that the dollar per hour though gets a little more convoluted when you take into consideration the number of hours that your full-time people work compared to.
Yeah, but I wouldn't make a distinction between, I would call a full-timer somebody who works 80 hours. I don't, whether they're really working, the ambulance people sometimes have 100 hours a week, but we wouldn't mess with that. We would just do it based upon a normal employee.
From my perspective, if I've hired you and you are in a full-time position, you would get the full-time set amount. If you're a part-time employee, you would get a per hour amount. The hour arguments and all of that, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to entertain those, so.
The part-timer could end up making more than the full-time.
That's where I'm, right. But we would more like, we would convert your 48-hour people to 40-hour week people and come up with a number that
So can we
worked.
simplify that though and make one tier and it be $1 amount per hour instead of saying you could qualify for either tier at a different dollar amount?
I don't, yeah.
It's just for tracking purposes
Okay.
and making sure we add the right thing to the right people. We're trying to limit the number of pay codes and things we have to add. So if you could make that tier 3 be, it's X dollars an hour if you're part-time and you qualify.
So tier 3 wouldn't have a A and B.
Right.
Okay.
It's just, the more complicated we get, the easier it's going to be to add the wrong code to the wrong person and pay the wrong amount. So if we can simplify it down and be, if you're a part-timer and you qualify, you would be tier 3 and it would be X. And there's no, if you qualify for 1 and you're part-time, it would be 3A, and if it would be 3B, just to simplify the process.
But I think, I would suggest what Christie said, is split it down the middle. If you're a part-timer, you get $1.50 an hour.
But their exposure could be different.
Everybody's exposure is different. Every single
Well, I'm
person.
saying A and B, we have different ones now.
I know,
I'm
but
saying part-time.
within A and within B, there's different levels of it. We can't get it so fine as to how many hours were you exposed and how many hours were you exposed. Everybody's different. We just say this is the way we're measuring it.
But if we had a part-time, and just for argument's sake, part-time paramedic, and then you had a part-time coming in, filling in for dispatch, I would see dispatch as probably being group 2 and
Right.
the paramedic as being group 1. I think that's where that argument would come in. But you're saying split it right down the middle, it doesn't matter which one they do, they're getting $1.50. You're saying you want to keep it as simple as possible, which I understand.
Well, I mean, if you're saying they qualify for different ones, I guess you're gonna have to have almost a 3 and a 4.
Well, in group 1 and group 2 are set on a set amount
Mm-hmm.
per week for full-time people. If we're gonna get into the weeds on so much per hour on part-time people, the
But I-
calculations they just exponentially grow.
But I see it as you have group 1A, full-time, 200. Group 2A, full-time, 100. Group 1A, part-time, $2.50 per hour. Group 2A, part-time, $1.25 an hour.
What do you
So you're just subsections of each group, so it's still, you only have 4 choices. I think that's what you were saying to start with, right? Okay.
Let's try that.
Yeah,
So,
when
Sheila,
you
then
said
do
that, I
you
thought
wanna
it sounded.
pass on the dollar amount?
We have to then.
You're gonna have to, because
Yeah.
your part-time, if your 200 per pay period is based on 80 hours, your part-time at 250 is exceeding that full-time tier 1 rate.
So not to exceed,
I'm not understanding that.
They work more than 40, some of the part-timers.
Oh, because of the EMS part-timers working 2 24-hour
I think
shifts.
what you
too.
say is not to exceed the full-time amount per pay period. So if it's 1A, not to exceed $200 in a 2-week period. If it's 1B, not to exceed $100 in.
So that's where we're getting into the problem of if you're gonna have to sit down and calculate each person, and the system's not gonna be able to do it, because if you set it as a per hour, then, oh, you went over, now I have to go in and manually adjust the amount you're gonna get, because I don't want you to get there.
It's easier to do a set amount.
Yes.
And again, I haven't seen anything, so you're talking about 200 and 100, is that correct?
Yeah.
So what if you just did 200, 150?
So the person who worked 4 hours versus another part-timer.
No, it's
that worked
not.
40?
It's 200, 100, it depends on their level of exposure, not how many hours they work full-time or part-time.
But that's what he's saying, do 200, 100, and then part-time
200
is
for
all
level
50.
1, 100 for level 2, and then have a level 3 for part-time and say $50.
The problem with the $50 there is the person who only works 1 day, their dollar per hour.
How many are you gonna have working over the 80 hours anyway, a part-timer? It's
We've
gonna
tried
be,
to figure out the part-time piece, and it's just a difficult piece to figure out how to.
it's not gonna be that
apply
many
it.
people. EMS would be the only one, right?
In theory, but remember, I have 5 people now released, so we would see a dramatic shift in unplanned overtime. I would assume in income pay period. So the number of hours that our part-timers are gonna be working, I would,
You send me your pay sheets each week and I'll look at them. Any of them over 40 hours, I'll make a note for finance to look at. Make sure it's only the $100 or $200. It's not that hard, 5 people.
Or not if it's just anybody works 40 hours, it's 50.
I don't think it's that big a deal for the part-time if there's
What about?
not that many of them.
What about anybody that works over 8 hours? You get $50, anybody under, you don't get nothing.
Come in and work 8.5 hours.
If you wanna work, I'll give you the money, but there's many people to work. By the way, if that means people wanna come work part-time for the Cole County Sheriff's Department, we're hired. They can hear me, my voice travels pretty good. But that way you don't have to worry about they either qualify or they don't, it's a set amount, you're done.
So then they're getting $6.25 an hour compared to, I mean,
And I agree with what you're saying, and anybody that would come to me and say that's not fair, say, well, you can quit, go to part-time, only work 8 hours, and you get that $6.25 an hour.
I would then.
I don't
The
think it's
sheriff,
that hard to
our
keep
sheriff is brilliant, so I'm with him.
Oh.
Red Hawks.
I think I think we recognize that there is the potential for arguments on either side. At the end of the day, this would be the message to my people, is that we are, honoring your work, acknowledging the hazards that you have performed with this amount of money, and it is what it is. Thank you.
What he said.
So is it 50 for everybody, whether you would be open one or two? Or is it 50 and 25? Whether you're a part-timer
That's a valid
paramedic,
It is a
or
valid
whether
point.
you're a
Very valid.
part-timer
Dispatch.
Working for Larry?
I think you-
I think anybody working for Larry deserves more money.
I think it's three.
I-
I think you have, the first two levels are full-time. So you have 200, 100. Then level 3 is part-time. No matter what it is, you're part-time. If you're part-time and you work less than 8 hours, you don't get nothing. You work more than 8 hours, you get $50.
I think we have to explain how they're exposed.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
the
that is part of the
documentation-
paperwork.
I don't like it that way. I'd rather do it per hour and
Yeah,
watch
but-
what
so it's
EMS,
different money
they're
for
the only
that.
ones really that's gonna be over 40 hours, so
I'm good with that, Jeff.
I think we just,
Because then it's everybody's different.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I think that's going to change that as well.
How's
So
that?
right now, the policy says you're either all in for a pay period or you're all out for a pay period. So if you've missed work for certain circumstances, you don't qualify as a full-timer for that pay period.
Sure you do. If you have annual leave or sick leave, you still qualify for it. If you work
50% of
over
your
20
schedule.
hours, so.
If you work 50% of your schedule for that
Right.
2-week period.
But if you take a full week of vacation, then you're not gonna get it, cause you're not being exposed to anything.
That's right.
So it all makes
Potentially
sense. I was
more
trying to understand
exposed.
it too, and I talked to Sheila about it, cause I was like, well, wait a minute.
So the same thing would apply here. If you have a part-timer that only works 8 hours, they're going to qualify. Why would your full-timer who works 1 week but not the other not qualify?
Well, they need to work the whole week or 20 hours of it then.
Does the ARPA money say that you have to work 50%? to
No.
be eligible, or is that your eligible?
I think this premium pay discussion is isolated right now to Cole County. What do we want to do? ARPA's not telling us how to do it. It says premium pay is available. And
I would get rid of Jeff, I think if you take, as long as you fill out your time sheet, then you get the money. Why would you, and the reason I say that is, every time sheet now, that means she's gonna be changing, every time saying, well, they were on vacation, so you can't change that money. Well, let's just make the rule that if you're a full-time employee, until the 1.5 million runs out, you get the 200 or 100. If you're part-time, you get 50, and be done.
You're not filling out the paperwork documentation. That has to go to ARPA to make sure that we don't have to pay that money back.
Okay.
That these people were actually exposed at their work. And if they're on FMLA, they're on vacation, they're not exposed here. And we're still paying them.
Oh,
I
so
think
you're
we
saying
would owe that back.
I thought you just said there was no right, that ARPA did not put stipulations in there.
well, I didn't know they did, but even if they did or didn't, I have a problem of somebody going on a 2-week vacation and receiving premium pay while they're on a 2-week vacation. Because if they're being exposed, it's at their election to go to the Super Bowl or to go to Cancun or go to
Deer hunting.
wherever.
And it's not work.
I mean, I don't have,
And it's not work.
I'm not gonna pay.
Yeah, and
off 2
it's
weeks
not
for
work
years.
related. Your exposure is not work related, and it's your
But
own
we-
decision to be exposed during that period of time.
So the way the policy's written up is they're getting it if they work 20 hours that week. Minimum, right?
But it's
Pay period.
not individual weeks out of the pay period, it's the 2-week pay period.
Okay, so that's setting the limits on it, that you just can't just take off,
Sure.
go on vacation, go
I didn't
hunting,
think of it
whatever.
what Harry was saying.
So-
It's not a-
But the
They're still
part-time-
being exposed. And then we're trying to look at it to try to get some kind of premium pay as well for the part-timers that are keeping us operational.
Yes. But-
And it may not be equal, and like Eric said so eloquently, this is us trying to show our appreciation too for them doing that.
Yes.
And it's not gonna be equal, but, we're trying to be fair to everybody and get them something.
And truthfully, if it causes issues or problems,
and we're taking it away.
It's not really about me. It's not
Well,
really
and
about
this
me.
will go
I'm trying
away.
to do
They
it.
need to understand that,
Well, that's the problem.
yeah, don't get used to living, a lavish lifestyle. Don't go out and buy a,
Do y'all want to
That
address
is a problem you're
part-time
creating.
separately? Move with this, and then let's talk about part-time, maybe give Kristen and Debbie some time to
Yeah.
bend our ears. and-
Okay, let's do that.
Um,
You say that and I'll agree.
okay,
So-
okay.
I think we're looking at this policy, go ahead and go with that for the full-timers, and then we'll go another week. We'll try to work with Debbie and Kristen on this part-time stuff, hammer out some details.
Well, and if you would give us this first 4 weeks to work out any kinks while we're working on that part-time, to make sure we're not missing something in the process. And hopefully at the end of the first 4 weeks, we can try to implement something for part-time, but we're all going into this as something new, and we're hoping we've looked at every possibility, but there could be things that come up that we're not thinking about. So there could be changes to the policy after that first 4-week period, because there are things we have not thought about in the policy itself. So if you can give us that first 4 weeks to do full-time this way, and
Yeah.
see if it works for us and how cumbersome it is to run payroll, and then while we're doing that, we can try to talk about something for part-time. But
Yeah,
again, this is new to everybody, and we're trying to make it work, and we're trying to do the best we can, but there could be things that come up that even we're not thinking about at this point.
yeah. So a lot of our part-timers, no, we're not just ignoring them and saying, no, we're not. We just got to figure out how to do it.
And we will take suggestions as to a way you think that we can implement part-time in a way that works.
And this will not apply to elected officials or department heads, just
No,
so.
department heads are in there.
Department heads are in there? Oh, my God. Oh,
It's just you elected.
oh.
And actually, we say right at the beginning, the effective dates are from 1/6 through 2/5.
So yeah,
It's
pay period.
2 pay periods. And if we then don't address this again, it stops
Yes.
on February 5th. But we will address it again. But if we didn't, it's got its own termination date.
Yes, and we would suggest that we take that in small pieces of time.
Right.
Because one, we want to watch the budget and see where we're at, and two, we want our employees to know that this is not a permanent situation, and this is not something you can guarantee and count on. It has to be renewed, it has to be approved, it has to stay within that budget.
Got it.
And documentation
Well
that department
documented,
heads have to go through to get this too.
Okay.
I understand.
So did we fill in all your questions, Sheila?
Yes.
It's
Okay.
The 200, the 100,
The
the
one
budget
point-
of 1.5 million.
And then we'll kind of maybe say something about the part-time, or in this first go, it's not included
Yeah.
or something,
Part-timers will be addressed
in the second.
In a
and then
timely fashion.
In a timely fashion. How's that about that? Okay.
I can do
Okay.
that. And then I'll just put it back on the agenda for next week, and we'll
Yeah.
approve it, a solid
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
And Jeff,
And-
did you make a motion to
Not
proceed?
yet, we were
Okay,
talking about
okay.
it, but that was what I was gonna propose, was
Okay.
to enforce this policy effective 12/11/21.
12,
Today's date.
12/21/21.
12/21/21,
Yes.
and adopt this policy.
Second.
Any more discussion?
And we're hoping to have some forms and everything available to the department heads after next week, Tuesday.
Yeah, they're ready to go once they're approved.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we want to get that out so they can start working on that documentation and make sure we have everything in place before the beginning of that first pay period of eligibility.
Okay.
Okay,
Anything else? Hey,
that was easy.
yeah,
Harry, you have some?
Well, I was just thinking, we've got this pesky thing called the Missouri Constitution. I was looking for some way to say a word that, with respect to part-timers, we could make it retroactive to, or we can make it effective. We're going to make it effective on 1/9 as well. In other words, if we can't hammer out some kind of part-time employee determination effective with this, or as it applies to them, every day that goes by, we lose the ability to pay them under the Constitution because it's retroactive. So can we say up front, we're going to make it effective for part-timers on these same dates? We will.
So you're talking about the time it would take to sit around and consider how much to pay them?
Yes.
Yeah, if you make it effective then, so it's still,
We're-
they're
I don't-
being paid is still under consideration.
I don't want the part-timers to think that we're just delaying so that they are missing out.
Yeah.
As every day goes by, they miss that opportunity to have a premium pay for that day. That's just and if we can say something to that effect, or if it's understood, then they won't feel that way. We're not trying to run the clock out and then say, oh, by the way, we can't. Days have gone by and you've been working part-time and other people, full-timers have been getting premium and you haven't, and we can't go back and give you premium because of the state constitution. But if we can just say this is going to be effective for part-timers at that time as well, we just have to get the details. That's
Because
what
their pay's not finalized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's how
we'll proceed that way. Let's see what happens. So the gun is on, the gun's to our head to get this hashed out for the part-timers now, soon, before before they get their first paycheck in January.
Okay, do we need to amend the motion or just?
I sort of amended Jeff's motion to stipulate the respect to the part-timers. Does that make it too confusing?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
he's,
you're gonna have to say upon approval of a policy including part-time, because the current policy that you approve excludes them.
I think I said that. And let the record show. And
Don's got that.
what I'm
You
really
got it,
interested
Don?
in is
You got
how,
it?
what I'm really interested in,
Come on, Don. You know,
what's really going to be interesting is how the News Tribune reports this.
oh, Jeff,
I'll just copy off of them then.
Yeah, okay.
It's always.
So I guess I've amended your motion. I'm going to call for adoption of the amendment.
Yeah, I'll accept the amendment.
Oh,
So
okay,
we'll
it's
make
part
a
of your
motion.
original motion?
Yeah.
Okay, second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we'll have to watch the meeting to see what we just said.
I would like to say thank you to everybody who has put in work on this. It will be a very appreciated thing amongst our staff, so thank you.
Yeah, the finance office, auditor, the HR, that been down in the weeds with this stuff, so thank you all.
And we do accept Christmas presents. Oh,
No, we don't.
okay. Ooh, no, no.
Captain Kangaroo up
Presents,
here. What do you want? You want a moose?
Ooh, yeah, chocolate. Okay, okay. Any more discussion
I'm telling
on
you, you look
premium
exactly
pay?
like it.
Okay, then we will
No,
go
thank
to the assessor's office, errors and omissions. Tom and Chris have been sitting there so patiently.
More papers, Tom? Thanks, sir. I've seen your email.
Yeah,
And then after,
Thank you.
at their incentive task force meeting, it was a chapter 523 or 235 or whatever that is too. So kind of got an understanding of what that is now.
well, Jeff understands it, and we're,
I would somewhat understand it, not to where I can explain it.
Basically, what I'm asking is for the tax roll to be adjusted to change the value of 202 East High Street from 0 to an appraised value of $305,000. Ryan and Jill spoke last week regarding this. There was some question about exactly how this should be taken care of, whether it would be on the assessor's rolls or partially on the assessor's rolls, or if the city was going to actually bill the property owner for part of it. There's actually a redevelopment special tax bill repayment agreement between the property owner and the city of Jefferson. This was signed 12/30 of 2020. It has to do with the fact that the neighboring property had structural failure, and was demolished, and during that demolition, special actions had to be taken care of to preserve 202, since there was actually a shared wall. And the parties agreed that to assign a reasonable value of $120,000 to such actions, and therefore a special tax bill on the property was agreed to between the city and the property owner. There was some question, when the paperwork came through to me, there was some question about what, exactly what should be done. And I emailed a couple times and didn't get a response back. But I know Ryan, I talked to Ryan on 12/3, and Jill spoke to him last week, so we're asking that the appraised value of $305,000 be put back on the tax rolls so that Larry can generate a tax bill for the property, and the property owner will pay Larry, and then Larry will disperse accordingly.
It couldn't have gotten any more complicated, could it, I guess?
No,
And-
it couldn't have. Because this is a normal 353. Usually with 353, it's just abated.
Right.
Like the Governor Hotel had a 353 for many years, and it was just abated. But with the special tax bill being thrown in there, it kind of made it a little convoluted, but
And was probably exacerbated by the failure for them to respond to your request time after time after time?
yes.
Okay.
Because at one point, we had to make a decision what we were going to do with it, because the books closed July 1st. So I was going off of the last statement that was given to me on July the 15th, stating on January 1, 2021, the property should be assessed at $0. Therefore, it will owe no taxes in 2021 and thereafter. Well, we've since been told otherwise, so.
Right.
And I know Jill and Ryan spoke about that last week, and Jill spoke to me later, and so,
Yeah, it's unfortunate that the communication went down to the deadline, but we cleared it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm satisfied that our assessor's office has done its duty here, and that it is, with this action, is properly being treated.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. The other one we had going through the 353, it's a flexible form of abatement, and there's some different moving parts on all of them. It's not just a true abatement. Some of them is just a tax on the improvements to the property, and that one, from what I understand, was just to keep both buildings from falling down as part of the agreement, so. It's weird that year after year it changes the percentages too, so.
Yeah.
I'm going to offer a motion to accept the assessor's office request to value the property at 202 East High Street at $305,000.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So next year, does it
I've
go
got a-
down to
I've got one
50% or
question
stays
for
that way for like
for
10
Chris.
years?
Yes, yes.
Chris, before you leave, I've got one question for you. Several weeks ago, you said I broke the law by could see something, that your software or whatever, and you cited that it was I could check with the Secretary of State to see that I broke the law. I did check, and subsequently, the Secretary of State's General Counsel sent you a letter that said that wasn't accurate, and so last week you corrected your comment, or changed your comment to say it was the auditor's office. Okay, you misspoke. So after last week's, when you said it was the auditor's office, I checked with the auditor's office. I checked with John Hollis at the auditor's office, and he has searched for that inquiry or whatever, and he said he's heard back from other folks in the auditor's office, and no one there knows about First of all, he said they don't give legal advice at the auditor's
I
office.
never asked for legal advice there.
Okay. Can you tell me who you talked with at the auditor's office? Because
I didn't talk to anybody at the auditor's office.
you didn't.
No.
Well, let's
No, I
back,
assumed
let,
that
let,
they were the people that would be reviewing that information.
so your story about me breaking the law was inaccurate. Is that true?
Was what?
Inaccurate. First of all, you said,
You said that the Secretary of State was incorrect because I misspoke. I assumed it was the auditor's office, and now you're telling me that it's not correct. So obviously, what I said was incorrect.
okay, so I'm just trying to correct the record. That
If you
you,
want to take care of this stuff, let's do it other than in a commission hearing.
you know, you won't answer my emails, Chris, so this is the
When was
only,
the last time you sent me an email?
several weeks ago, you know, I sent you one every Tuesday for 5 weeks, and and the last one you sent to me is my answer.
5 weeks.
Yes, I can show you. I can show you every one of them for 5 weeks. And you said, finally you said my answer, your answer would be forthcoming, and it still hasn't come. So that's why I do it in public. You accuse me in public. I want the public to know that you were wrong. You said you quoted the Secretary of State, then you went and said it was the auditor's office, and now
Why don't you call the federal government and see if they want to get involved?
why don't you? You've accused me of breaking the law, and you were wrong.
I was wrong. I said that. I was wrong.
Okay.
I misstated, okay? You are being childish about this whole thing.
No.
I don't know what has happened that you feel you have to attack me every time you can. And that's been several times in public over things that were untrue. Is that not correct?
No, it's not.
Really? It's not correct. You told the people in the community on the radio that I cherry-picked the properties for the ratio study. Called Jeff Schmidt, the technology director for Missouri State Tax Commission.
I have.
He'll tell you that we send all sales, they use the tax roll, and then check it. I don't pick any properties. You said something was incorrect, okay? And I made sure to check and see if it wasn't, okay?
I'd like to respond to that, Chris.
Harry, if you want to set up an appointment with me, we can sit down and talk.
When-
I'm not
okay.
gonna play games here in the commission here.
If you'd give me your work schedule when I could find that you're there, we'll make it
Just
happen.
give me a call.
Okay.
Just give me a call, Harry.
Have a good day, Chris.
Okay. Vaccination refrigerator discussion.
Are we need to do this under emergency?
That's what I was
Okay.
saying.
So one of our vaccine refrigerators stopped cooling last week, and we had the air systems come out and look at it. So the first page is to fix the current refrigerator. It's gonna be $3,500. The next quote is to just replace it. And the first one is, I think on the top, is for $45.88. That's the True Blue delivery. I guess it's not white glove anymore, as they called it last time we ordered one. It's True Blue. They come in and install it. Donna's also checking to see how much it would be to haul the old one away. And the second quote for $36.88 is just for the refrigerator. They would have to, again, ship it to somewhere with the loading dock, which is over at the ESB, and then our people would have to move it. But that ELC expansion grant contract I just got for $528,000, I built 2 refrigerators in. So I have the money to pay for this. Once my budget gets approved, I sent it in last week, and then they would just reimburse us. So it wouldn't have to come out of the ARPA money. I have contract money from DHSS, but we really do need to go ahead and get it fixed as soon as possible, because we have all the vaccines for children vaccines in the other refrigerator, and they like us to keep them separate, so there's not a mistake of giving somebody state vaccine when they should be billed to insurance, those kind of things, so.
So the $1,100, basically the True Blue delivery and setup, is that hauling off the other as
Donna's
well?
checking on that to see if that's included, but that's delivering it to our building, putting it in, setting it up. Otherwise, we have to have it delivered to ESB and have somebody move it again, which was quite a hassle.
Yeah, I just, for $1,092, they damn well better haul off the.
Well, Donna's checking, cause I'm
Well,
not
before
sure
you
if
give
that's-
it away, I'd like to take a look at it.
The evaporator coil needs to be fixed, it'll be $3,500 to fix it,
That's what they say.
yeah.
I know
Well, we
refrigerant
have another
people.
one that is just trash that is in our building that, hasn't been taken to the dump, if you would like to look at that.
But I think we need to get moving on, but before we tell them, yeah, they're gonna get to haul the old one off, I'd just
Okay,
be
well,
curious.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm requesting that we approve the Helmer purchase at the True Blue delivery of $4,500 and we bill it to the ELC contract, as soon as my budget is approved. And they said vaccine refrigerators are allowable cost, so I don't think it'll be a problem.
Is this available at once?
Donna did not tell me how long it would take. I assume that they have them in stock.
Okay.
It's 45 days, I don't know if
45,
that,
yeah.
if that's the term, I don't.
Yeah.
I'll come by there today and just take a look. I got some questions on it, but how old is that one?
2 years.
I was thinking we just got one of those and,
Right.
or both of them. We got two?
Yeah, so, I guess there's some glycerin thing where the evaporator coil and it must have went out, so. And
You would
the-
think,
The new ones, they have like the glycerin built in, so these things don't happen, but yeah, it's only 2 years old.
but we need to get, we need a refrigerator, freezer,
Approve that purchase, we'll get a PO for you.
yes.
So we can't really purchase it though until we find out exactly what the True Blue delivery and setup is, if that's,
I don't think it includes hauling it away. Donna was checking to see how much that would be. Because she didn't think it was included in the delivery and setup. Because they didn't haul the old one away, it's still sitting in the extra room.
okay. So then who moves it?
Who moves the old one?
Mm-hmm.
Our maintenance people will have to. Says the other one is.
We surplus
And they- yeah.
and sell them, whoever we want to buy.
Greg thought the one that was sitting there is trash. We could surplus them both.
One way, either way, we need to get this done, so.
I would
And-
assume that this truthfully does not include hauling the old one away.
And we can do it under emergency purchase if that,
Are they the only ones that are able, this air system's the only people that are able to look at it? That are like a licensed repair or a refrigerant cool person that can
I don't
do
know
it?
if There's a lot of people that work on the Helmers. I mean, we could try to find somebody else to work on it.
okay.
What, capsulized, what is your ask of us today?
My ask is that you approve the purchase of a new vaccine refrigerator with a True Blue delivery of $4,588.11 to be billed to the ELC contract.
That is my motion.
I will second. Discussion?
No, I don't know. I think that's crazy. Just to replace a coil is more than the refrigerator itself to have it delivered. And I know we did the setup the last time too, didn't we? And I don't know. I just think we should be doing some of that too. But I haven't seen the refrigerator firsthand, so I'm gonna reserve judgment until
Okay.
I get to go over there and look at
Okay.
it, but I'm voting no for now.
Okay, go look at it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay,
Thanks, Christie.
okay. Do we have any other issues to come before us?
Oh, where do you want me to start?
Okay,
John's still here too.
I'm waiting until you say that.
okay, son.
I did do a quick update for the council last night. Do you want a quick update today?
Yes, please.
So our cases are still a little higher than we would like. You know, the data after the Thanksgiving holiday, we had a lull because testing and everything was down. People didn't get tested. Then we had a peak, and then I imagine it's going to do the same thing over the Christmas and New Year's holidays. People are not going to go get tested, they're gonna ride it out and then go after the holiday, so we're gonna have an increase of testing. The hospitals have been running about 15 to 20 COVID patients at any given time. I know one of the hospitals reached out to me last Friday just asking about flu, what we were seeing with flu, because their census was up in the hospital. I think we're at like a little over 60 flu cases, but staffing I think is still a big limiting factor for the hospitals. The Omicron variant, they found it in the sewer shed in Jackson County and Buchanan County last week. Everything here in this little area has still been Delta. Omicron seems to not be, or it seems to be evading natural immunity and vaccine immunity. 2 doses of the Pfizer is 0 to 20% effective on the Omicron variant. I think that, if you have your booster, it's a little bit more effective. But the good thing is it seems to stay more in the airways, not go into the broncho tube, so it's a mild cold. The hospitalizations and the severe illness from it seems to be a lot lower than Delta. That this is all what we're seeing in the other European countries, because it's moving this way. I talked a little bit about the court ruling from Judge Green. I think we've kind of talked about that before, that the bad thing about it is, we weren't issuing quarantine orders anyway. The bad thing about it is it's not just COVID, it's all communicable diseases. So if we did need to quarantine someone for like tuberculosis, I would have to come to you and you guys would have to issue the order. They couldn't be under my authority. Schools still have the ability to exclude kids because they have they're mandated to do it under 167.191 of our SMO, so they can still exclude kids that are sick or liable to become sick. Jen just emailed and she did just add another death for today. They died in November. They were fully vaccinated and had their booster dose.
So you say we should isolate more and deer hunt? That's all I heard.
No exposure.
We should hunt more, sit in a tree by yourself, and buy more guns.
And the deer have the antibodies, so maybe they, protect.
What?
They tested the deer.
Eat more deer.
Yeah.
Chickens and cows are gonna like this.
Tested the deer. That's what Rick's.
Oh.
Any questions?
Really? That's interesting.
I know.
I did not hear that. Huh. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Christie. Okay, Jeffrey.
What?
I said, do we have any other
Oh,
business? You said,
no.
where do I start? So, here, Don, I have a whole stack for you.
Nope. I
No?
think that's all I got.
Really? Anything
Homework.
else?
Merry Christmas to all and to all a good night.
I make a motion, we stand in recess until 4:30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Merry Christmas if I don't see everybody.
Yeah.
For